Hello, crafters. This week was pretty productive, crafty-wise. With the 3-day weekend, Natalie and I had plenty of time to start to plan for the next 6 months or so and to get some stuff done. We made some good progress on the 2 Meadowland quilts that we are completing. We finished all of the flying geese and all of the center blocks, and now we just have to iron and sew the 2 together. We finished 1 block, just in case Natalie decides to get ambitious later in the week and get started on the rest of the pile. We also pulled out our Quilting Underground spreadsheet with all of our projects. And I'd already made a copy of our 2020 spreadsheet and then deleted some of the finished products that we completed and then added a few. Okay, 6 that we're planning to complete for the first half of the year. 6 isn't bad considering we're doing them in pairs. I mean, when you get started, just doubling the amount of blocks to create isn't that hard. Right? Yeah. The first 2 on the list are the Meadowland quilts. And, you know, as I said before, that's just a couple more hours and we'll have 2 tops done. So I'm not worried about finishing those before our self-imposed deadline of May. The center parts of the Meadowland quilt are actually from mask scraps from the masks that we made. We started a neighborhood group called the Cheltenham Helpers. We live in Cheltenham. And made, I think, about 1,200 masks last year. We had a lot of leftovers because we had different groups doing different things. We had some non-sewers just cutting fabric, and then we had one person who was just taking all of those and running them through her serger. We ended up with a lot of unfinished masks when demand just, died and production caught up. And that reminds me that we haven't added a well, Natalie has decided that we are going to make a quilt or 2 or 3 out of all of these mask leftovers. And I haven't added those to the list yet. Need to do that. The second set of quilts is from a pattern called Range that Natalie bought a kit and a pattern for. It's modern, it's very simple, it has 2 shapes to cut. She wants to make a second one in a green colorway completely from our stash, so we spent a good amount of time picking through our green konas and playing with my 2 favorite methods of picking colors, camera grayscale and squinting. Natalie thought there was something wrong with me when I was going like this. But when we whipped out our phones and did a grayscale picture, my squinting was right. I don't know why. It works for me. And finally, I have convinced Natalie that we need to do a Quilt of Doom or 2. Unfortunately, she took a look at Grogu and had a mini panic attack. And I told her that we don't have to start with Grogu, or I can do Grogu and she can start with, easier paper piecing, like, some of the book blocks. After all, I learned how to paper piece with my first Harry Potter quilt. But Natalie has picked out a background, and you know what that means if you start picking out fabrics. Yeah, we're making 2. Elsewhere on the list to finish are a few small quilts to throw up on the long arm, including a t-shirt quilt for my sister that my mom made and a king-size ribbon quilt for me. A few years ago, Natalie and I decided to take a quilt class at Oaks, which is what we call the Pennsylvania National Quilt Extravaganza, run by the Mancuso Company. And we took the class with Sarah Bond, and that's where we found out about the Philadelphia Modern Quilt Guild, and we found out they actually meet, like, within walking distance of both of our houses. Have I mentioned that Natalie and I live a block apart? Anyway, we also met Kiona, who was also interested in joining the guild, and together we three discovered that these were our peeps. The class we took was called Ribbon Quilts, and Natalie and I started 2 quilts, both in solid Konas. My top has been done for a while, over a year. It will, I think, be the first king-size quilt that I'm going to long arm. But Natalie just keeps riffing on her pattern, and it's a meditation for her. So she just, you know, is I don't expect it to be done anytime soon, and I'm sure that what she comes up with is going to be spectacular. Speaking of anytime soon, she also started a hand sewing project 2 years ago for Hexies, and she tells me she plans to finish, sometimes when she's 80, according to her. So there's that. So we have a goal for about the first 6 months of the year, and it looks like we're gonna actually get stuff done, and cross your fingers, not have to worry about being waylaid like last February with unfortunate events that required all of our crafting to be poured into the M word. But anyway, until next week, stay safe and stay creative. By the way, that's my sign off that I use for my videos with my students. I use Minecraft to, last year it was world history. This year it's English and creative writing, because apparently they can't let me teach the same thing twice in a row. Anyway, Philly. Bye-bye.